We're live. We are live. I am super excited to be here. I am super excited to be using a brand new service here with StreamYard. In fact, I found out from our marketing team just an hour ago that the reason we're doing this is because they want us to look a little bit younger. So I love it. I love it. Yeah, I know, Giancarlo. I don't know if you heard that right from Julia, but she's like, yeah, JB, go to webinars a little old. Let's use StreamYard. I love. So welcome to our Q1 town hall for 2024. I'm super excited. You guys probably noticed we've got a new face as well on our webinar here, Mr. Fred Loucks. Fred, man, give it, coffee, right? Bring it on, man. So talk to us a little bit about what you're doing here.
Yeah, absolutely. So joined up just, I guess, what has it been? Just a little over 2 months or so ago now, coming up on 3, and joined up to work on the product itself. So I'm new product manager here at Domotz, and really focused in on making sure Domotz is doing everything that it needs to be doing for our customers, and helping to solve those problems that they come to us for and they trust us for. So really excited to be here.
And I am absolutely super excited to have you on here, Fred, because you've already made some great changes. You've got an amazing background, especially in the AV and the integration space, but your technical background from a networking point of view too is just awesome, right? And I know you've used a lot of different tools that have been competitive to Domotz, but even outside of kind of our space and more in the enterprise space, and you bring a wealth of knowledge, which I'm super duper excited about. So good. Giancarlo, how are you doing, my friend?
Very good, very good. Nice weather today. Here back in South California. I was just mentioning to Fred and JP the launch of Falcon 9 yesterday evening from my window. It was amazing. Very good.
You know what we need to do? We need to get Domotz on one of those rockets so we can monitor that thing.
We're trying to do that. I cannot disclose anything.
Dude, you monitor your Tesla, you might as well monitor that thing too. So
yeah, Starlinks is it?
Well, on our town hall today, we've got lots of topics to discuss. I don't know. You guys know I can talk a lot, so we may go over our time, but I doubt it. We're going to try to hit 45 to 60 minutes on this. There's definitely been a lot happening on the Domotz side of things. In fact, let's see. Let me get to this new tool, right? Let me see how this works. Oh, what's happening at Domotz? I love it. We've been doing a lot of changes. One of the things you probably noticed too is that we've been restructuring, right? We're changing some of our titles, right? We're bringing in guys like Fred to really build out a proper team. Ultimately, what we're doing is we're really focusing our engineering. We're focusing on our products that we develop, and we're focusing on sales now, right? And the things that we're really driving here, in my mind, and Fred, you kind of said this actually in your introduction, you guys as customers and the service that we provide. That's the number one thing that we are doing ultimately around some of this restructuring and these changes, right? Giancarlo's focused a lot on the account management side of things and really bringing out the customer success that he's been such a key part of, and making sure that we scale that in a better way. Product development, Fred, you see a lot changing there. I mean, any thoughts on what you want to say on how we're doing that and kind of why, right, we're doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think just touching on my background a little bit, I've spent a lot of time in various IT, infrastructure monitoring platforms, and I've been on Team Domotz now for a little while, and I was on Team Domotz as a customer, but I wasn't always on Team Domotz. And I was.
We don't fault you for that, Fred. You got to learn.
Well, I think there's a balance from a product perspective. There's a real careful balance you have to keep when it comes to building any kind of IT tooling or observability tooling, and that is balancing power and usability. There are some solutions out there that absolutely crush it when it comes to power, but you need, a PhD to operate the thing, or 12 months of certifications to accurately engineer it. Getting started takes months and months of, hard work and learning, and that can pay off for you. But where Domotz has done such a good job is in sort of meeting the opposite side of that approach, which is let's be user-friendly first. Let's focus on getting, shorter time to value first. And then let's bring the power in ways that our customers are asking for it. And so a lot of the things that we're working on, and I'll talk more about the future a little later on today, but my focus is really on expanding visibility, expanding your visibility, right? Our customers' visibility into their networks, into their environments. How do we provide you better visibility? optimizing the usability of the application. So how do we take fewer clicks to go from A to B, right? How do we get you better tools in a more streamlined use case? And then lastly, we live in a world of devices and cloud platforms, and there are dozens and dozens of cloud platforms and thousands of different makes and models of devices. So integrations when it comes to monitoring is critical. It's critical to our success. It's critical to any monitoring or observability tool's success. So we are all about trying to multiply those integrations, and we'll talk about more how we're using those 3 touch points as well as others to guide our strategy into 2024 and beyond.
I love it. I love it. For the longest time, right, we have like really created an awesome product, right, that is extremely usable, but I don't think people realize how powerful that thing really is. And you said it very well by pointing out like how we get that information out in an easy to use way, but also a scalable way is really, really important here. One of the things that we're also changing here, and then Giancarlo, I want to come to you, but is kind of the engineering efforts that we've put behind this. We have thousands of active customers monitoring tens of thousands of networks, right? Which equates to millions of devices. And one of the things that we're having to do with respect to that is build out an architecture, right? And rethink how our architecture scales better across these environments. And I think our team's been doing an amazing job, but one of the reasons that we're restructuring our engineering team to make sure that we have that scalability so that we can take it to the next level and not burden you with delays, right? When it comes to remote logins, not burden you on delays when it comes to getting your dashboard and data. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah.
Giancarlo,
definitely scalability is one of the key words of today's webinar for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Giancarlo, I'm going to skip over one thing, right? I'm going to skip over, I'm going to go to the interesting use cases, right? Because I know from your perspective, we're doing some good stuff here. And I know you've been in touch with a lot of customers recently. And I'd love to hear from you about, some of this restructuring and what your role is and how you think that this is helpful.
Thanks for bringing these, GB. Absolutely, it's the restructuring Domotz is a key for the success, not only the success of Domotz itself, of course, because our success is by definition your success, but most importantly, the success of our customer. And my role has been always to be in touch with my role has been always to be in touch with every single customer, bringing all your comments, all your suggestions, and even raising issue to our engineering and our product team. But with my former head of CTO, there was always a fight between my time that I had to spend with my customers and the time I had to spend with the engineering team, and always fighting in these two kind of role to bring value and the success of our customer. Now I will be focusing 100% on the success of our customer, the experience of our users. And so in this new role, I spent the last few months speaking more and more with customers, and I will do even more, building an account management team. We are very, very low staff at the moment, but as a matter of fact, in 2 weeks, we will have new resources that will help me in that area as an account manager. So any one of you will have possibility to have his own account manager, to bring a feature request, to bring issue, to raise concern, to speak about usability of the platform for sure. And then I will work very, very closely to Fred to make sure that all these features, all this feedback that we get from the users will be turned into a product to make your experience even better. So in this new role, as JP was mentioning, I spoke to so many customers in the last few months, from a short call of 50 minutes to a long call of 2 hours to understand the usability of the platform, you understand missing feature, because there are missing feature, understand issues with the current technology that we use, but most important to understand their experience with Domotz and how we can make it better. And on a side note, we also touch on very interesting use cases. A couple of I'm planning to bring use cases every town hall, so we will discuss about new use cases. But a couple of use cases I would like to bring for today's webinar, they touch on the scalability of the platform, not only in terms of how many networks Domotz can monitor for you, which is, to your point, JB, we are monitoring tens of thousands as Domotz. We are monitoring tens of thousands of networks, and I would say millions. Yeah, this is not even updated.
It is. It's actually a little. I was going to say. I want to say we're like 60,000 right now.
Yeah, 60,000 network, and yeah, I see the number of global partners accurate, but the number of devices is way.
Giancarlo, I don't think people understand this, but we actually monitor networks on all 7 continents too, which includes Antarctica, right? Which is many people can say that, right?
And not only in the continent. As a matter of fact, there are some flying Domotz around.
That's true. That's true. We do have some Domotz in the air as well. That's a good point.
So I would like to touch about those use cases around the world. One of the use cases is, as you mentioned, we have Domotz in the Antarctica, monitoring an entire fleet of boats which are moving in the Antarctica. That's one of the use cases. It doesn't speak about scalability. So about scalability, I want to bring a couple of use cases. One is in a retail space. So we have one of the big ISP worldwide. They have their entire stores around the world that are now currently monitored by Domotz. They do care about all the technology that might be in a retail store, starting from the point of sales and the cashier machine, and even the digital signature that we have in the retail store. But about scalability, the important thing that I discovered in the last few months is how fast they were able to start monitoring the hundreds of sites that they have. So they installed Domotz. In that particular case, they use they use our Domotz box, and they chose this solution because they didn't have access remotely into their stores, or eventually they didn't have a proper hardware already available in the store. So what they did is basically pre-configure the Domotz agent in the office and assign every single Domotz agent to their store, and then ship around the different offices this pre-configured agent. The result was that they had hundreds of sites monitored in less than a couple of weeks. Yes, of course, they had to configure some of the capabilities that they wanted to be aware from Domotz, alerting part, setting the important devices, and so on. But they use the capability of the what we called inventory dashboard to create some rules so that they can properly select a specific type of device, like the point of sales devices, then mark them as important. Worth to be mentioned that from the web interface, you have the capability, or actually the desktop app, you have the capability to export an Excel sheet with all the information about the specific list of devices for one site. Then you can manipulate that Excel sheet, like VLOOKUP on your own data, and then import it back. But what they choose to do is, instead of doing it through the Excel sheet, they choose to do through the API. So there is a way through the API there. You can basically connect our Domotz portal to your own database and keep them in sync through the Domotz public API, or in this case, to mark the devices as important as you care, mark the device to be in a specific location rather than in another, or identify a specific model, or identify a specific serial number from the Domotz portal. And this is the first use case I want to bring. As I mentioned, the use case in this particular case, is using the Domotz box pre-configured in the IT office and then shipped to the retail store. We had a very similar case, like four or 5 years ago, where a chain of restaurants used exactly the same model. They pre-configured the Domotz agent, the Domotz box the Domotz agent within the Domotz box in the office. They shipped to the restaurant. The IT manager, or actually the restaurant manager, not even far from being any IT related capability. They just plug the box to the first available port in the router or on the switch, and job is done in a matter of a few days.
So Giancarlo, I think it's interesting that you are bringing this use case to the forefront, because getting back to why we're restructuring, and I think a lot of our people, a lot of our customers that have been with us for a while understand this, right? A lot of the customer interfacing has been through our support team, and it's been through you and Bobby and Nico and me on the sales side, right? Talking to people. And I think that there are so many, now that we have thousands of customers, right? There's so much scale that limiting that to just 4 people is not going to be possible. So building out a proper sales structure with SDRs and AEs, but also on your side, Giancarlo, account management, and making sure that you and your team can interface with everybody to understand these interesting use cases that are out there, right? So that way we can then, and you said it exactly right, pass that information to the product team, right, with Fred, and get a better understanding of what are the real needs now that people have, and how can we take all this data that we're getting and distill that into a very useful product that gets much better scalability. That to me is something that I just think is so very exciting here, and why we're needing to go through these changes. I mean, any other comments on that, Giancarlo or Fred? Do you want to add some info?
Go ahead, Giancarlo. Did you have something?
No, absolutely. No, I was saying, yeah, you're perfectly right in that, GB. Absolutely.
Good.
The other
you have another use case, Giancarlo?
Yeah, use case.
Yeah, let's hear it. People are interested.
So the other use case is very similar in terms of scalability. So same number, hundreds of sites to be monitored. In this case, it's a security company, so physical security company. So they install security camera, access control system, and this kind of stuff. In their case, the scenario was a little bit different, because what they had is already a network of distributed devices, and in every single network they had, there was already a laptop or server, actually a server, which was responsible to taking care of the data coming from the security camera and so on. So in their case, the Domotz agent was distributed on those servers. Now, what is interesting in this case is that, again, they were able to install hundreds of Domotz agents in a few days. And the difference here is that instead of configuring the Domotz box in the office and then ship, they had access to the net, because they had the network. They had access to this server, and they used the Domotz command line configuration script to configure the Domotz agent in every single site. And it was super amazing to see how fast they could.
Right, they did hundreds, right, within like a couple days.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
That's awesome, using that script. I assume that our team helped out, like, kind of building that script.
Absolutely. So we helped out in building that script we provide. And as a matter of fact, this is one of my role as well, helping during the engagement process.
All those emails, those are people coming in asking you for that script, Giancarlo.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I put that one on do not disturb, but I don't know why they continue. Thanks, Fred.
I love it.
But I like the sound of new emails. Yeah, I need help. I need that, something like that. And I like providing help, as you know, and all our customers know. I like to be in contact with you all. I like to provide suggestions on how to deal with Domotz. So I want to bring that use case. Now, in terms of usability, once the agent is deployed in a scalable way, the idea is that you start monitoring. And in this case, they needed information about how the security camera are performing, what is the traffic between every security camera and the NVR system. Don't forget, the security camera, they have their own system to monitor the online or offline status. But if a security camera goes offline, what's the reason for that? Is that the security camera? Is that the access point connecting the or Wi-Fi repeater?
Infrastructure, yeah. Absolutely.
There are a lot of reasons, and Domotz provides you the information to troubleshoot where the root issue is.
I love it. Great use cases, Giancarlo. I want to go back. And I know I changed our order a little bit, but you touched on some points that I wanted to bring in. But now I want to get back to kind of the sales structure and what we've changed and why we've done that, right? We're building out this sales team, right? We really are, and we're restructuring how we handle, incoming calls, how we handle support tickets, right? How we handle people. A lot of this started back in fact, I should show this banner, right? Because we got to look younger here and show banners. Right, the channel partner program. Come on, Fred, you know it. I know I'm an old guy and you're a young guy, but whatever, got to do this. We started this channel partner program back in the November timeframe. So far, it's been extremely successful. We've had a lot of people joining in. A lot of people are understanding that. I just want to remind you guys that we put this in place to really help you, right? In my mind, it helps you obfuscate pricing. It gives you volume discounts on directions that we're going. It really gives you things like better services, account management, okay? We have things going in place too, where you can get more per collector that's deployed when it comes to things like metrics or booster packs and whatnot. So the only way you're going to gain access to those by joining that channel partner program and then talking to our team, right? Whether if you're a customer now, you're going to be talking to Giancarlo's team. If you're new to Domotz, you're going to be talking to our sales team. But ultimately, this is what we are really driving towards. And it's, again, to help you. So please sign up for that thing. Call us, talk to us, right? We will be happy to get you started within that. And we'll talk about all the benefits that you get with that on our team. So plug for the sales team there to reach out to us. So
that's a very important thing, JP. We will probably talk more about the opportunity that we have with the Domotz Channel Partner Program and the possibility to, once you get into the program, the possibility to get volume discounts or even customize the plan in the way we can we can structure a process that fits your need and a procedure that fits your need. I wanted to mention another use case, actually, that a couple of use cases. Another couple of customers, they had, even in this case, they had tens or hundreds of sites to be monitored. And in this case, the peculiarity was that they don't have a lot of devices on every single network. It's like satellite. Speaking about satellite offices where there are like one or two important devices that they needed to monitor or supervise. And the idea was that, a $35 MSRP is probably not too much for monitoring like one or two devices. And in that case, what we had to do is basically create a new pricing model for them, a new package, where instead of charging per entire site, we charge for the supervised device, the device that they care to have monitoring in Domotz. And starting from those use cases, we have actually spent the last few weeks building really a new packaging in Domotz. So start in a couple of weeks, by the mid of April, I would say, so in 1 month, we will have this possibility to everyone that wants to move on an offline contract with us. We have the capability of selling Domotz by device, which means you select the device that you want to monitor in Domotz and you pay just for those devices instead of the entire site. This works very well for this kind of use cases like the satellite offices or working from home environment where you want to monitor the network every single employee of your company or the company of you work for as an MSP.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work for the boats I was mentioning in the Andarte in presence because that's the entire site you want to monitor, but work in these other use cases.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, Giancarlo, the only way that people gain access to these things are by being part of the channel partner program and then contacting our sales team so we can help structure that, right?
And so, just to be clear and to answer Josh, ciao Josh, nice to see you online. To answer Josh's concern, we are not going to remove the per site model. So the site model base will stay there, and that will be the primary model, still available on the online users. But whenever we will have a discussion with you guys, and we want to create a billing option based on devices, or a mix and match between per device and site model, we can move the account offline, we can create a special contract with you guys, and we can work from there. And George, to answer to the other question, it's not about the Antarctic presence. It's not the one you mentioned. It's a different one. I cannot mention the names.
yeah. Don't give the secrets away, Giancarlo. So
really quickly, guys, I just wanted to comment on that. When it comes to the way we're building the channel partner program and the pricing models, if I can sort of just top line it, right? The point is, for businesses that rely on Domotz to build services and do business, right? We want to make sure that there's more for you, right, than just the online motion, more for you than just the online support, more for you than just the standard model. We know that, you know, there's a lot of different businesses that rely on Domotz every single day to deliver killer services to their customers, and we've become a fundamental critical part to their infrastructure. We want to make sure that we're not just building the product in a way that supports them, but actually building the economic model, right? The business model, the engagement model that works for you. So that's really the key here. And so if you're a business that relies on Domotz to offer services to another business, right, in a B2B fashion, please reach out and get on the channel partner program, because we can absolutely help make sure that the engagement model is built for that type of purpose, and that you get all the benefits and perks of that. So that's what I wanted to say.
No, I love that, Fred. You said that so very well, actually. And this is where I have to chime in, right, and say we really are building Domotz to be a solution, right, for you as a service provider, whether you're in the integration space or you're in the managed service provider space or the IT space. We're really trying to be a total solution, a holistic solution for you. The idea behind that is, we know that some situations the per site model makes a lot of sense, but there are other environments where you may have satellite offices where you only have a couple devices that you really care about, right? Having a collector sit there and do on a per device model, I think makes a lot of sense too. So we're helping build out that structure. Again, this is new for us. We want your input. Join the channel partner program, talk to your account manager, right? And we will help you with that. So thanks for those points, Fred and Giancarlo. I'm glad you brought that up. So beautiful. Okay. Now we get to some of the more exciting parts here. A couple things that I do want to comment. I see Josh has definitely found, you know, the comments section. I definitely want you guys to let us know what you're thinking, right? If you have comments that you want us to chat about, bring it to us. With the last system, right, they had the Q&A panel. We don't have that. This is all about comments. And if there's a relevant comment to what we're talking about, we want to hear from you. So don't be afraid to chat. You may or may not get it shown. It just depends on how I'm feeling. So be aware of that. Let's see. One thing I want to mention about our new structure as well, which I have to say, for me, I'm going to use the word stoked, right? I think I can use that, Julia, since I'm sounding younger. Maybe that's not the right word, but super excited, super stoked. We're going to a lot more shows this year. Last year we kind of started into the IT Nation Connect world, right? Evolve. We're going there. We're going to be at Kaseya Connect, or Kaseya's services, whatever that. Oh, thumbs up. We are going to also be going to other shows in the service provider space, but you're going to see us in more integration shows as well. Part of my job is to really focus on that AV integration space. And so you'll see us at things like Infocom and ISE and CI Expo, where we'll make sure our presence is well known there. So I'm excited about that. If you guys are going to be at certain shows, right, by all means, please reach out to us so we can visit with you, talk to you in person, stop by our booths. That's something that we're changing as well in 2024. And I am super excited about that. So cool. All right, Fred, it's your turn, my friend. Yeah. So here's what we're going to try to do. Okay. So let me see, we're going to show the banner, right? Let's get to some of the new things that we want to talk about, right? Some of the recent features and enhancements. And while we're talking about that, I am going to share my desktop, and we're going to see how well I drive this thing. So let's blue.
Fantastic.
All right. Fantastic. Great. You tell me what to show, buddy.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Awesome. Also, just really quick, want to celebrate some great comments coming in. One from Clayton Burnett on, saying an unsolicited promotion, but saying, I find novel use cases for it every day. Domotz is worth every penny they charge. Unbelievable insights into data I was never able to collect previously. Like, amazing. Thank you so much for the feedback, Clayton. That's the whole point. That's what we're here to try and do. So really appreciate that feedback. So we're going to go through a couple of features that were recently released. We're sort of looking at the last 3 months. You can follow along as we're going through this here, but also if you look up in the comments, there should be a link, though you won't be able to click it here through StreamYard. But if you just search Domotz integrations, and then the other one is if you look at Domotz release notes, we have a help page for that, help.domotz.com/categories/release notes. You can follow along there. We'll look at the last 3 months. That's what we're going to focus on here. So, March, February, and January for what we're going to go through here. So the first thing I wanted to show is the selectable SNMP templates. So JB, if you would mind, find a device that we can apply an SNMP template to.
I can do that.
So one of the things that we recognize is that our SNMP templates are really helpful for those of you that want sort of a quick access to the most meaningful standard data that we can give you. But you don't always need all the information that our SNMP templates provide you, right? And so given that we have limits on the account, soft limits to how many metrics you can have across a given collector, we wanted to make sure that if you want to use one of our templates, you don't have to use every single data point on that template, right? So we can be more efficient with the use of our metrics. So when you go to add a pre-configured SNMP template to a device, we're now offering you the ability to deselect certain metrics that are in that SNMP template. Now you'll notice up in the top right-hand corner, the metric consumption. We're showing 10 metrics per device here with the way the template is shown. But if JB, if you just deselect another one of those options, you'll see it goes down to 9 and so on. So the point here is, if you don't care about, let's say, outbound traffic or outbound discards, but you do want to get inbound and outbound errors, for example, then this is one way that you can limit how much data you're collecting, so that we can cut less noise and more signal, right? More focused information on what you're looking for. So that is item number 1.
Beautiful.
Okay. Let's go to number 2. We got a couple of things we've done on configuration management. So JB, let's find the network device that we're doing config management on. There's 4 things here and there, and mostly sort of small things, but there's small usability and functionality improvements. So the first one is we're now storing 40 backups. We had fewer than that before, but we're now able to show a full 40 previous backups. So that's a nice improvement there. The next is this improved diff view. So you'll see here.
By the way, Fred, I love this view. Right?
Yeah.
I think the change in this just makes it a lot cleaner and a lot faster.
Yeah, absolutely. So, a little better diff view, better performance on loading this up, handles big config files much more seamlessly. So this will help a lot for anybody who's using config management here and wants to see those file differences.
If you guys feel like I'm doing my segmentation on my network switch wrong, let me know. All right. So
awesome. The other 2 things are just smaller things around config management. One is sort of an auto pause on failed backups. So if we have 5 failed backups consecutively, we'll stop trying to back that asset up for a bit of time, and then you can re-enable it. But that way we're not constantly trying to store backup for those assets when there's no backup to be stored because we can't reach it, or it's failing, or authentication's not working, whatever it might be. And then lastly, if a device becomes locked, the credentials are no longer valid on it, whatever it might be, you can still access the backups. So the backups will be retained and they'll continue to be shown on the asset. You can't gather new backups or restore backups, but you still have all the backups there. Before those weren't available once a device became locked. So
which Fred, that by the way has been a request, because that's super nice. If somebody had a failure on a switch or an RMA, being able to still gain access to those backups so that they can then push it to the new device was an important part there. So I'm really glad to see that coming back.
Yeah.
Being added, I should say, excuse me.
Absolutely. And then the next one, if we go down to the integration scripts, JB, and just open up an integration script, we just look at our custom scripts. We've done a few things here. We won't show all of these here as we're talking, but if you just grab any of these, so there's a bunch of new integration scripts. Just broadly on our integrations, we've added 52 new integration scripts just in this last quarter.
Yeah.
And again, look through the release notes. You can see all of those that have been there. But there's been a lot of very popular managed service provider requests in there, like via VMware and things like that. Lots of network equipment and so on. So feel free to check that out. Again, in the release notes, you can kind of see the details of each integration script and what all properties it has available. In addition to that, we've released 14 new SNMP templates and 20 new SNMP MIBs. So as far as the last quarter of integrations go, right, more OIDs available natively in the Domotz database, more SNMP templates available, more integration scripts.
Fred, those are probably across network switches and network infrastructure devices, right? I mean, that's been a request for some firewalls added and stuff. Right?
Exactly. A lot of network infrastructure. Absolutely. That's been a big focus lately.
Good.
So in the custom scripts, if you just go to customize this script on one of those scripts below, the Zoom services maybe, or some other one, JB, the thing I wanted to show here is the local test password. And so if you see that checkbox in the top left-hand corner that says credentials required, you can check that now. And you can now pick a device that you want to test the script against, and then you can add a temporary password for the development process. So you can say, okay, for this device, and then in this development window in the actual IDE, you can now just add a local set of credentials for the development process. So we'll pick a dummy device here, for example, but there it is. Now you can enter test credentials, and those will be passed to the script execution right here in the debug process. So this helps a lot for wanting to do local tests right here within the application, right here within the IDE, and not needing to go, okay, did I set the password right on this one device, etc. And these are local credentials, so they don't persist all the way back to the device. They just stay here in the IDE while we're working on that script.
This is so much faster, because if any of you have developed with these scripts before, right, having to add the device, add the test code, right, it was a little bit lengthy. So I'm really glad to see this optimization occurring. This is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few other things that we've included, and I don't know that we'll be able to demo them because I don't think we have the right script here to show it. But we've added 2 properties to be available in the D object. And so now we also have, within the script, we can get the serial number and the MAC address of the asset. So beyond just having the IP address, which we had before, we now get the serial number and the MAC address in the custom script, which is, of course, very helpful if you need to, validate a MAC address, during run, or if you're talking to, say, a cloud service that you need to say, look for this serial number and get the data only for the serial number, or look for this MAC address and get the data only for this MAC address. Those data points are now available for consumption in the scripting process. So
from my perspective, Fred, like when it comes to automation, right, that's a beautiful thing, right? Being able to write a script that will look for very specific devices or serial numbers, right, as needed, right? Check it across a database, right? There's things like that you can do in JavaScript, and now you can start to automate things a lot more efficiently. So
yeah,
this is a step in the right direction, I think. So nice work.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in here. There's a couple other sort of back-end things that we've done. One of them is we're limiting parallel script executions on the collector. So if you used a lot of custom scripts, one of the things that would happen is those custom scripts would start all executing. Many of them would execute in parallel, and we would drain the resources on the agent very quickly. So for those of you that are very ambitious in your use of custom scripts, thank you. You're the only reason we were able to find this bug, and we were able to fix that. So we now have some limits on how many scripts can run in parallel, and we're doing a little more queuing now on the agent to help protect those resources. So a big positive there on performance. And then lastly, one sort of quality of life improvement is now when you assign or associate a custom script with a device, that custom script is going to execute immediately. Now, that didn't happen before. It would wait for the next polling window, and that could be quite long depending on what you have the polling window configured for. So now, right on association, we're going to run the script right away, and so you'll have those data points in immediately instead of needing to wait for them.
Another efficiency move, which I really appreciate. And the challenge is when you were trying to debug things, right? I mean, if you were writing a script and you were pulling variables and trying to check your code, right? It's one thing to see that the code is valid. It's another thing to actually see that it's functioning properly. So the fact that it executes immediately is a really good move. Probably obvious to a lot, but it's good now.
Well, it's part of the process of making a product, right? Is, sometimes you get to do these big bang, improvements and add really big features, but a lot of times the work is the little things, right? The work of the little user experience, quality of experience things, and performance things that we have to do to make sure this application continues to serve the needs of our users. So we talked a little bit about the integrations that were coming just a moment ago, that have come out already. So the 52 new integration scripts, the 20 new SNMP MIBs available in our database, and the 14 new SNMP templates. But there's a kind of a special integration that we've brought this last month, and that is the Domotz collector on the Netgear router. JB, can you take that for just a moment and tell the group a little bit about what that is?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm excited about this. So Netgear, as you guys know, plays in many different channels, right? The IT enterprise space, but also in the integration space. And they have essentially been focused over the last couple of years pretty heavily with some of their AV products. A lot of you guys, especially in the integration channel, are going to know the Netgear AV switches. Well, within the last year, they brought out a router as well. It's a very nice looking router, right? Ports on the back, all that fun stuff that integrators often need to make sure that they have clean installs. Well, there's enough processing power on that, and we've worked with Netgear to actually have the Domotz collector natively running on that router. So it's essentially their PR60 line, right? Their 460 line. You'll have to talk to them exactly which models and which spaces they're in. But essentially, when you go into the Netgear UI, you have the ability to click on their applications button, and Domotz is the one and only application in there right now that you can enable. It activates the same way as you see with our boxes or with our other Windows-based collectors. Once it's activated and running, it's running in its own little container in that system. But then you connect to it, and you have the ability to do all the same things that the Domotz collector can do, whether it's running on a Windows agent or a server. One benefit that is there, because it's directly on the router, is that we have the ability to communicate directly with the IP tables that are in that system to, if devices need to be blocked or blacklisted or things like that, then we have the ability to do that as well. That's something that we worked with the Netgear team on. So I'm excited about that. I mean, if you're interested, right, we see this much more in the integration channel, the commercial AV channels, the residential AV channels. But if you guys are interested in having that, right, not paying for the Domotz box, then by all means, check out the Netgear solution, because it's a powerful solution. I have it running in my house, and I'm seeing, by the way, ISP speeds on this thing towards my gigabit performance that I have. So it works very well by leveraging that hardware. So it's really nice. So good.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thanks, JB. Yeah. And this is, again, this is about, that usability and efficiency at the end of the day. And, if we don't need to deliver, if we don't need to, also have a second box, a second device, right, whatever it is on top of the router, then obviously that's saving on power, it's saving on space, it's saving on heat, right, all of those things. So it helps us, keep this thing a little more slimmed down.
Yep.
Perfect.
Just to clarify, that this integration is more like an agent integration, which means the agent is capable of running on that router. Because I see some question about possibility to integrate with the OPN Sense or for pfSense. It's not a matter of integrating better and extract data from those firewall. It's physically running inside the router itself. So from my point of view, pfSense can be hosted on different hardware, and if the hardware has enough capability of hosting Docker container, definitely Domotz can run there as well.
Yeah. Well, and that's where, Giancarlo, that's where the Protectly hardware becomes very powerful, right?
That's a very correct statement, JP. Now, in terms of integration, we do also integrate with pfSense. We are able to extract more information from that one, and we will do more with other firewall as well. But that's a different discussion.
Yeah. That's about software integrations versus like kind of hardware integrations, right? So perfect. Fred, I feel bad, man. I skipped a banner. I created a banner. Julia's going to be so upset at me, but I think now we're on the in the pipeline banner, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
What's coming up, Fred?
Yeah, so let's talk about what's next. There's a few things, and again, I want to touch on some of those focus sort of strategy, comments I made earlier, right? What are we really focused on at a macro level? Because that's what drives the features we build. And as I mentioned earlier, right, we're focused on expanding your visibility into your environment. You should be able to, that's like the key value prop of Domotz, right? That you can see everything. It's one of the fundamental differences between us and a lot of other monitoring or observability solutions is, you don't have to tell us what devices to go look at, right? We just do it. We go find everything that we can find on those attached networks, with the layer 2 scanning, and we try to give you as much visibility as we can, as quickly as we can. So we're going to continue to try and expand the visibility that our users have in the application. We're going to continue to optimize the usability of the application. We've grown up a lot in the last 9 years or so, and there's a lot of there's a lot of work we're doing right now that's sort of helping the application grow into the use cases that our users have brought to us. Early on in our days, right, we starting in the residential space and really focused on those home networks, and now as we've grown and expanded and helped many managed service providers and integrators and IT departments manage their networks and monitor their networks, right, in this B2B sense, we've had to grow beyond what we originally did and what our original intention was. And that's a great opportunity for us. And what that means is lots of usability work, right? Lots of work on how do we make it easier to manage large environments, right? Or multi-site environments, right? Or really scaled out environments, and how do we do that effectively? So continuing to work in that space. Multiplying our integrations, as I said earlier. So that's a twofold thing. Not only do we want to add integrations, but we also want to empower our integrations engine. So adding integrations, that's new scripts, new MIBs, new SNMP templates, right? But empowering our integrations engine is bringing more features to the actual custom scripting engine, allowing us to do more in custom scripts without needing to do them necessarily natively in the product itself. This is good for a lot of reasons. Largely, it takes pressure off of the core Domotz product roadmap and development team, and it allows us to work in parallel on script development, right? And that might be our customers building scripts, it might be partners building scripts, it might be our own teams doing it, but it allows us to parallelize that work and allows us all to move a lot faster and allows our customers to experiment more. So we want to continue working on multiplying our integrations and the capabilities therein. The last two I wanted to note for the time being on sort of focus is closing key feature gaps. There are obviously, right, as we started with the usability first and the usability focus, whereas other monitoring or observability platforms maybe started with the power first, and that was the primary thing. They were focusing on major engineering chops to build that tool and run that tool. We've sort of tried to find a way to bridge that gap. And so when we look at what are the really, maybe the really, I'm going to call them powerful, established, we can say maybe more established, or maybe more established in specifically in some of the deep IT engineering space. What are they doing that's really good, and what can we borrow from that? What can we borrow from what they're doing successfully? And more importantly, how do we take what they're doing from a technical perspective, but bring sort of the Domotz way to it, right? In making it very user friendly, very easy to operate, and very easy to scale. So we don't want to just we're not just grabbing features at random and starting to try and throw them into the application. That's not the goal at all. The goal is if there's something that's really helping customers with in another platform, we want to make sure that we capture those needs as much as we can, and we help make sure people are solving all their problems within Domotz, as much as we possibly can. Last one is just embedding security, right? So fundamental to everything we do, security has to be sort of the first conversation, not the last conversation, especially in a very powerful network remote management solution, and especially in a solution that offers very powerful remote access into remote networks. So the more we do that doubles down on our ability to secure the application, secure users, and provide more power to those security workflows, the better. So in that vein, what's coming up immediately? We have coming up.
Fred, before you talk about that, one of the things that I wanted to mention on this is I think everybody knows. If they don't, shame on them, but they should know we're a SOC 2 Type 2 compliant company. That's something that we've had for several years now. But I'm excited to say that in the vein of security, like you're talking about, we're also working on ISO 27001, and that's in the pipe. And I expect by the end of the year, beginning of next year, we'll actually have that certificate as well for you. And then we're looking at how those two, right, SOC 2 and ISO 27001 branch into a lot of the other security frameworks that are there as well. For me, right, I recognize that whether you're the service provider, or you're an integration company, you're dealing with enterprises, you're dealing with your customers that care about these frameworks, right? They're having to deal with it, which means you're having to deal with it. And by us improving our, I'm going to say security footprint, it just makes it that much easier for you to justify the use of Domotz and really build out a service model with us. So I wanted to make sure I chime in on that, Fred. Sorry for.
No, it's good. Thank you.
Yeah,
absolutely. No, those compliances are super critical. Again, we have customers who use us to offer services to other businesses, right? And that is all about trust. B2B business is all about trust. And so lots of businesses, that use Domotz, they rely on Domotz to be that trusted underlying solution, and they rely on Domotz to help bring them tools such as our SOC compliance or the Domotz box or things like that to help improve that security story, and again, just help get to yes with their customers as much as possible and remove barriers. So you're absolutely right, JP, and thank you. So quickly, as we get up to the end of our time here, in this next quarter in Q2, the primary things that we're looking at is, in the vein of multiplying our integrations, we're looking to bring our configuration management capabilities into the custom script framework. So that will allow, us to not just have to use the native configuration management capabilities we've built, but we'll actually be able to build configuration management into any custom script. And that's really powerful if you consider any device, any asset that uses a text-based configuration file, a single text-based config file. Then what Domotz fundamentally allows you to do is to check that file, to save a best known version of what it should be, and then to compare that on a regular interval. And if it's different, right, be able to apply the new config file. That is broadly applicable beyond just network equipment. Network equipment did a good job doing it early in the process, but there are lots and lots and lots of hardware and solutions and service platforms out there that rely on a text-based config that Domotz via custom scripts will now be able to check and write to. So extremely powerful here in the AV integration market, where some of our users use assets that have a text-based config. In the software space, where we might have text-based configurations, I mean, there's a ton of potential and opportunity here to rapidly expand our capabilities on config management.
I'm excited about that. Right? I know Giancarlo and I have been talking about that for a little while, like the need for it. The fact that we're getting that ready to release that is super cool, right? And it's going to change, I think, some of the things that service providers or integrators can do with their hardware, just keeping those backups in a secondary place or a cloud location, right? A secure cloud location.
Absolutely. So the next one is, we're working on some usability optimizations in the collector / like the agent site navigation, right? Mm-hmm. The Sites Explorer right now takes several clicks to get down to the device list level or the topology level. And those are a couple of things we're working on. So we're trying to streamline the navigation time within the Site Explorer. How do we more quickly go from clicking a site to seeing the assets that are having an issue, to seeing the topology? How do we more quickly navigate between those various settings pages? Such as the remote connectivity tab within the collector or the reports and logging tab or those things. So we're looking at some user experience rework there to streamline that process and make it just a lot easier and a lot more modern to navigate that particular set of pages. And that's paving the way for lots of usability improvements down the road too within the Sites Explorer. So step by step, right? Getting some much better navigation capability there.
And Fred, I think the changes we made on like when we created that inventory dashboard, right? It was a beautiful dashboard for what its purpose was, but it didn't necessarily allow you to, as you said, navigate the sites in an efficient way. And I think that this will be a very good and welcome change when people see it. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of that too is consolidating the configuration of the collector itself. So right now, if you want to configure the collector, adding external hosts, adding external IP ranges, right, things like that, you kind of got lots of places to go to do that. It's a bit spread out. And so we're consolidating all of those settings down to a single settings page within the configuration of the collector. So much cleaner user experience, much easier to know where your settings need to be, where you need to, where you need to navigate to change the configuration of the collector itself. So that's all coming in Q2. One more sort of big one for anybody who writes custom scripts or who leverages custom scripting is we've had some backwards compatibility we've been maintaining for a bit of time now on older versions of Node.js for the scripting engine. And what that's required is for us to not leverage the most modern language features for modern JavaScript, modern ECMAScript. And so there are several things in there that will be impacted by this. But the big thing is expect to be able to use more modern JavaScript language features in Q2. Things like async await instead of needing to utilize promises, being able to utilize arrow functions. There's a bunch of other language features, and you can go look at any time like what are the modern ECMAScript language features, and there's some good stuff like Node.green and other sites that kind of show you the difference between various versions of Node and what features they have. But the key here is if you go Google or ask some large language model to write a function for you, it's probably not going to write it using promises or standard, the legacy sort of ECMAScript feature sets. And that's going to make it a lot harder for you to write custom scripts, right? We want to make it a lot easier by using modern language features so that JavaScript developers get to continue to work in the way they already are used to working, right? With any other modern front-end framework or Node.js based application. So those are the main things I would say coming in Q2. And then we have one last section, which is just the beyond. We're running out of time here, so I'll be really light on this. But that is, one, doubling down on the security conversation, and for me, that really means exploring certainly our single sign-on capabilities with more generic single sign-on capabilities and such, and then more importantly, perhaps our role-based access control system. So I won't go into too much detail there. There's a lot of work to be done to make this.
Please. Yeah, role-based access control is a beautiful thing that we've had requests for a while now. I'm going to throw out the need for like read-only users. I just saw a couple requests for people that they want their finance team to only see the billing stuff and not the sites, right? So that's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, anytime you're building a role-based access control solution, right, you essentially have to go through and figure out what's every single thing that someone can or should be allowed or not allowed to do it within an application. And the key for us is we've only really ever had 3 roles, right? We've had roles, but they're not customizable, right? Team leader, team member, and field operator. And so the game here is going to be expanding our ability to create custom roles that have more granular controls. So that's a big goal. And then lastly, I would say we're really focused on cloud integrations and how to how to help bring cloud integrations to bear faster, right? Especially in the audiovisual space, not limited to that. Certainly, it's across the board in the networking space as well and others. But in the audiovisual space, there's about 1,000 different cloud platforms for all these different manufacturers. And that's causing our users to have to portal jump between various tools. They go to Domotz to start, but then they got to hop out to this tool if they want to do this, or this tool to do this. So the more we can bring that information into Domotz using those APIs, the more efficiently we can do that, the more value we can provide right within Domotz without ever needing to leave the app. So that's another big focus, I would say, in 2024.
Well, and Fred, this really should help with the notion. I mean, all these cloud services are helping with things like multi-tenancy, which any service provider, any integrator has to deal with. So making sure that we add that capability within our driver, our frameworks is absolutely necessary. And I think that that's the right direction.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's certainly the goal, is to put it in the custom scripting, to try to figure out how to do it in the way we already do integration scripts, but to extend that framework to allow one-to-many, cloud-to-cloud style integrations.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, we are out of time. So we went to our hour long. This is great. We had a lot of info. Giancarlo, any final parting thoughts that you want to say?
No, I was trying to answer most of the question and comments online. Some of the questions might not have been completely addressed. I see one message from John Calefato asking if there is a way to power cycle a PoE port of a Cisco Catalyst. That's definitely doable through the public API, Domotz public API. So there's an API to control the port of the switches as well as the outlet of the PDU. So that's what I would recommend. Rest, I think, has been addressed by myself. There is a question from Jonathan Perel I would like to address, and we can discuss even offline, Jonathan. So whenever you have the time, I would confirm we don't have, as far as I know, any integration with the compliance services for SOC 2. So to your point, definitely something possible is extracting data, relevant data, through the public API. As a matter of fact, we are SOC 2 type 2 compliant company, and part of our job was to deliver information about our own networks, office networks, and that has been done using the public API, and thanks to Domotz monitoring our own offices, knowing what devices are available in every single office and in our cloud infrastructure as well. So that's what we do.
Funny side note, Giancarlo, right, is there are actually penetration testing companies that leverage Domotz to validate their penetration testing, right? That says a lot, right? So
that's a very true statement.
Good. Well, guys, we are out of time. Thank you, everybody, for embracing this new StreamYard. I appreciate your time. Giancarlo, thank you. Fred, thank you. And with that being said, let's see how this outro works. All right, guys. Talk to you later.
Thank you.